Greetings, Bat Family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast, you'll find us. If you love the show and you want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. As always, a big thank you to our patrons, and I got to give a shout out. We got a new patron, Mr. David Chambers. Hello, David. Thank you so much. You're awesome. You're the best. David, this one's for you. So big thank you to David. Big thank you to all our patrons. You guys are amazing, and you make our lives just that much easier. So big thank you. We are part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows at rf4rm.com. And as always, I'm your bat host, Andy DeGenova. You can find me on Twitter or on Instagram or on Letterboxd. It's just my name, Andy DeGenova. Now, I've been out of Communicado for a week, so we're just going to catch up on everything that we missed while I've been gone. Quite a bit of stuff, nothing earth-shattering, but some random stuff and some interesting stuff, and we'll talk about all that. Joining me for all that fun, it's my bat brother up there in Indiana. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. Yeah, it is a morning, and you probably still hear the morning in my voice, and I apologize for that.
That's my bad. This is how my schedule works now. I have to do things on Sunday mornings, or I really have a hard time getting it done in my crazy busy life right now.
Well, I get it. Life is busy, and I mean, it's my fault. I just got off the ship yesterday, and I was like, all right, can we get one out for this week? I could have just taken the week off. I should have, but we're here anyway. I'm committed, damn it.
The things you do for the people.
Should be committed. Maybe that's better.
We probably all should.
Well, good to have you back, Jamie. Thanks for jumping on a little bit of the last minute, because I hadn't even been able to tell you over the past week of like, hey, we should plan for it this weekend. It was just yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, you're out there sailing the seven seas, and the rest of us are just out here working for a living. So, it's just how it goes.
I'll take the cruise.
There's nothing earth-shattering, because after the week at work that I've had and you being on vacation, it'll be nice to just ease back into things. I don't need any life-altering events today,
Well, that's good. I mean, there's nothing life-altering, just a bunch of random stuff. But random stuff fills up podcasts pretty easily.
Yeah, it does.
And we got some plans for some non-news episodes coming up over the next few episodes. So, this way we'll catch up and we'll start making plans for those. It's just, to your point, spooky season is freaking busy. And, the cruise certainly didn't help, but it's just busy in general. I just realized, I looked at my schedule for the next week. I'm like, God, like, when am I going to get anything done? It's crazy. Anyway, we've got stuff to talk about. Before we move on to that, we got to give a shout out to our pals over at Manscaped. Manscaped is kind enough to sponsor Holy BatCast. We appreciate them, and we appreciate all their fine products as they send to us all the time. And they want you to know that it is Fresh Ball Fall. So welcome to Fresh Ball Fall, everyone. It's the season of pumpkin spice and making sure your crotch looks nice. That means sipping cider in a fall breeze and using Manscaped products to trim your balls with ease. That's right. Today's show is brought to you by Manscaped. As always, a company here to make sure that your foliage isn't the only thing shedding its excess leaves. Heck, even Mother Nature knows it's time to lose the excess clutter for fall. So join the 6 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off and free shipping by using the code BATSCAPED. That's BATSCAPED, BATSCAPED. Go to Manscaped, participate in Fresh Ball Fall, take care of your stuff, clean it up, make sure you're smelling nice, you're looking nice, but save some money while you do it. Use BATSCAPED for that 20% off and the free shipping, and it's a great way to do something nice for yourself and do something nice for us in the process. Everybody wins. And you do something nice for Manscaped too, right? Give them your business. So check that out. I'll tell you, I went on a 7-week cruise. I did not bring my trimmer charger because I didn't need it. You know why? That thing stays charged for months. It's amazing. Had my Manscaped deodorant.
To this date, have only charged mine one time in all the time that I've had it.
That's amazing. So,
and I'm a daily user of the product, and it's still, as I've said previously, and I'll continue to say it, I like the way I smell, and more importantly, my wife likes the way I smell.
Yep.
So
Yep. On the cruise, we're getting ready for dinner. I went in, freshened up. I come out, and Catherine's like, "Ooh, is that Manscaped?" I'm like, "Yes, it is. You better believe it." So, yep, it works. So, yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff you can get. You can get the trimmer. You can get the Platinum Package 4.0. Again, the trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0 trimmer is the best one that you'll ever get. There's also the Weed Whacker for nose and hair, nose and ear hair. Again, I hate that we have to do that, but I'm over 40 now, so you gotta. There's the body wash, there's a shampoo slash conditioner, there's the deodorant, there's all kinds of great stuff that are going to keep you smelling nice. So go check out what they've got at manscaped.com. And if you're going to make a purchase, again, please use that promo code BATSCAPED. Get your 20% off, get your free shipping, and you're going to help us out in the process. So happy Fresh Ball Fall, everybody. Make this part of your Fresh Ball Fall. That's all I'm saying.
Manscaped, we still need that pumpkin spice scented line. Please help us out.
I know. All right, you ready for some news?
I am.
All right, we'll start with the bad news and move to the good news. How about that?
That'll work for me.
All
Always
right,
best
so
to end on the positive note.
that's what I like to do. I agree. And so this is potential bad news. This is a very interesting article. It came out in the Hollywood Reporter on September 16th, written by Kim Masters, and it says Warner Brothers Discovery has bigger problems than its DC search. So this is a fascinating article. I do recommend you all read it if you get a chance. Right now, it's a lot of rumor, speculation, insider talk, but there are a couple things that in play here. The first the first issue is that Dan Lin, who was in talks for the DC job, didn't work out. And the story is that it did not work out because they couldn't figure out a deal for his production company or his non-for-profit. And so that didn't happen, which is a bummer because that was news I actually was like, oh, this guy could be good. I actually like this. This is promising. And of course, it's my fault it fell through because I actually liked the idea.
You jinxed us.
I do that. I'm terrible. So the search for someone in charge of DC continues. And so they talk about that. But what's very interesting is this is a leading talent rep. And it's kind of a great quote. It says Zaslav doesn't know what he doesn't know, and that's scary. You're always going to be compared to Marvel, which is unfair. By the time they were being judged, it was working. It's the exact opposite at Warner. It's rough all around. Who the F would want that job? And so what they said is anybody who already has a good, strong career right now would not want to take the DC job because it's kind of a shit show, and it's a hard thing to unravel. And so along those lines, they're continuing to search. And this is another talent. I think this might be the same person said DC is, it's another talent rep. DC is so fragmented. J.J. Abrams had this one, Zack Snyder had that one, Todd Phillips had the other thing, and they're all such huge egos. So just talking about how it's not unified, there's things everywhere, there's things in motion everywhere, and bringing it all together is a huge challenge. So something that was interesting is basically they said, for now, DeLuca and Pam Amdy, who are the new heads of Warner Brothers Pictures, are going to be running DC in the interim because there's no one else to do it. So Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi are going to have to do this, and they've made some deals, which we're going to talk about in a second. But it might not be the worst thing in the world. Apparently, DeLuca is a big comic book fan. He made Blade when he was at New Line.
Okay.
And he also was spearheading Iron Man when Iron Man was at New Line, and this was kind of fun. Bob Shea, who is in charge of New Line at the time, let the option lapse because he said it didn't make sense because Iron Man was too heavy to fly.
Oh, Bobby, no.
And then it says Mike was championing and scratching at the surface of this comic book universe long before it became the only thing that anyone was interested in seeing. So I guess that's some silver lining. It seems like it could be in worse hands than DeLuca and Abdi while they search for the actual DC person.
So let me just interrupt right there
Go
and
for
say, It makes sense to Bob Shea that a guy can get into teenagers' dreams and kill them for real, but it doesn't make sense for a guy in a 500-pound armored suit to be able to get airborne. Am I getting that right?
Yeah,
Okay,
that's correct.
just making sure. All due
Um,
respect to Bob Shea, he's done some fantastic work and spearheaded a lot of great things. And his sister is one of the great delights of the acting world.
yeah.
But that was a really bad choice. Really bad.
Well, hindsight is 2020, but agreed.
True, true.
So the bigger elephant in the room here, and again, it's coming from the Hollywood Reporter, so you got to take it with a certain amount of respect, is that there is concern that essentially what Zaslav is doing is prepping Warner Brothers Discovery for another merger or another sale.
Oh my Lord.
And again, it's all rumor and speculation, but it's all rumor and speculation within the industry.
It would make sense, as much as I hate to acknowledge it.
Yeah. Because of the rules of the current merger with Discovery, this could not happen until April of 2024, so another year and a half. But industry observers believe that Comcast would be interested in acquiring Warner Brothers Discovery and merging it with NBC Universal. And this is a quote from an executive. Again, nobody is putting their name out there, but it says one executive with knowledge of both companies says, obviously Peacock sucks. There are some good synergies. I'm sure that Brian Roberts, who's the head of Comcast, is licking his chops because the Warner Brothers Discovery stock is so low. And I think that's Zaslav's endgame. Get the place sold. And then a spokesperson from Warner Brothers Discovery responded just with, we are building Warner Brothers Discovery for the long term.
All of this lines up. I mean, I can't find anything that doesn't support these theories.
I mean, again, it may never happen, right? It could just be speculation, but apparently
Sure.
there's already been poking around happening from investors and hedge fund people about what's going on with Zaslav and with Warner Brothers Discovery. So all this poking around is causing the speculation that this is where it could be headed.
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I like about the idea of Comcast acquiring WB Discovery, and that would be number one. That would mean a likely merger of HBO Max and Peacock, which for me works great because I'm going to save about $10 a month and not lose any of that content. Because yeah, Peacock isn't the greatest streaming service, but there is some good content on there.
Yeah.
The other thing I like is if Universal owns Warner Brothers and by de facto owns DC, we can get the Bat and the Furious. How would that not be great to see Dom and Batman on the screen together?
But how would you tell the difference between the two cars?
I wasn't going to go there. I was thinking it.
You were already leading us down that road.
I was not going to go there.
Yes, you were.
I hand in the air. I was not going to do it.
Yep.
I was thinking it.
I mean, here's why I would be okay. First of all, I don't want to see it happen. And again, it is just speculation. It might not happen. I would not be shocked if it did happen, especially after what happened with Disney and Fox. And it certainly does feel like Zaslav is, he's cutting the fat. He's making it as small and as nimble as it can for a sale. And usually when they do that, it's because they want to sell. So yeah, they cut overhead, they cut costs, they maximize profits to make it look better on a spreadsheet so they can sell it. So I certainly wouldn't be shocked. I don't think this speculation is out of line. I don't want it to happen because it would break my heart that WB would just cease to exist in the way it has now for 100 years. We would lose another one of the big studios, and I think that would suck. The silver lining, or if it were to happen, if it were to go to Comcast, Universal could certainly, would be happy to take the additional IP, especially DC. And what that means for me is you could see DC popping up in Universal Studios parks. And I'd love that.
I know a guy who could do a lot in a theme park with some DC properties. I'm just saying.
And DC has been criminally underused in theme parks, just because of them being owned by Warner Brothers, who don't own their own theme parks. And so that would be a silver lining. Again, might not even happen, might not matter, but that would be a silver lining. So It's interesting. It's concerning. But again, it doesn't feel completely out of the realm of possibility.
I mean, the question would become then, would they follow suit with Disney? Because all the Fox properties are effectively, and not 100%, but pretty close, that's what they're feeding their Hulu stuff with.
Hmm. Hmm.
Obviously, the Disney and Marvel and Star Wars all kind of float with Disney Plus and theatrical, but the Fox stuff has really become the Hulu padding, if you will. So I don't know if you do that with Warner Brothers and make that the padding for Peacock slash HBO Max. I think Warner's got to be a bigger studio than Universal as far as that's concerned. So that wouldn't make a lot of sense to me, but I don't know.
Yeah.
A
Well,
lot,
I
lot of
mean,
weird stuff could happen in that transition. But as you raise that point, which is not one that I considered immediately, but makes sense, are we going to wind up literally just having like 3 or 4 studios producing movies getting released in theaters?
it's possible. Like what do we got? So we have Disney,
Mm-hmm.
which now includes Fox, right? So it's Disney, it's Universal, it's Paramount, who essentially were like dead in the water until the past year, thanks to Top Gun.
Yep.
Um, it was WB
Sony,
and Sony. Yeah, yeah, I guess Sony. And then there are smaller ones like Lionsgate, things like that.
A24. That's you have the independent stuff, which
Yeah. But like as far as like the big studios, yeah, I guess it's those five now.
and I mean they've been talking for years about Sony giving up the ghost, right?
Oh yeah, I've heard that they've been wanting to get out of the business for years.
So we could literally within the next 5 years be down to 4 movie studios in the U.S. That's
Yeah,
madness.
yeah. So who knows? This is just one other note here. It says that many top industry executives are so convinced of this deal that they're pre-mourning it. They're pre-mourning it, and it says people feel like it's Comcast for sure. It's going to be so depressing to lose another major studio, like when Disney bought Fox, and Warner's was the Tiffany studio.
You wouldn't think a studio of that size would have these kind of financial problems, but I
I,
don't I don't get to see behind the curtain, so I don't know what really
it
goes on there.
sounds it sounds to me like AT&T screwed them. Like when AT&T acquired them, it sounds like AT&T burdened them with their debt, which
Having
is
worked at the phone company for 3 years and having a grandfather and a mother who both retired from the phone company, not AT&T, it was a different phone company, but there was involvement there because AT&T used to be a long distance carrier back when long distance was actually something that you had to pay for. And they were hated by everybody because they were constantly screwing people on their bills, constantly screwing the carrier companies and everything else. It was bad news, very bad business. We used to make fun of AT&T because their logo looked like the Death Star, and it was very apt.
mm.
Yeah. So
Well,
anyway,
and that was my question. I was like, where the hell did this debt come from? Because Warner Brothers has not been unprofitable. It's not like they've been, dealing with 10 years of bombs or anything. Like, no, they've had hits, they've had misses, but they seem like they've been operating in the black for as long as I can remember. So I was like, where the hell did $50 billion worth of debt come from? And it sounds like the answer is AT&T.
that's some pretty underhanded stuff, but
Which
that's
is, yeah,
how
which
that's
is
how
shady
global
AF.
corporations work.
Yeah, AT&T acquired them, burdened them with their debt, and then sold them off to Discovery, and that's how Discovery was able to afford them, is because they were so cheap because of all this debt they were now carrying.
Hmm.
Anyway, one last note, and again, this is all positive stuff about Mike DeLuca and Pam Abdi, so again, this gives me a little bit of hope. It said that they are talent friendly, decisive, and a vast improvement over what was happening with AT&T and Jason Kilar. And so that they will at least protect the top filmmakers like Matt Reeves, Todd Phillips, and Andy Muschietti.
Today.
For now. As much as they can, as much as they are empowered to do so. So anyway, it's all very fascinating. Again, nothing we don't have any firm results, but again, it's more speculation as to what the hell's going on over there as things continue to swirl.
You know, just to kind of circle back to it, because you brought up the name and it reminded me, you and Brendan did that episode in my absence that you did before you went on your cruise. And somebody had asked the question in the mailbox about who we would want to essentially become the DC Feige or the DC head, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And immediately the name that popped into my head, and I don't know if he would want the job because it would be so time consuming for him to focus only on the DC stuff if they're going to ramp that up. JJ Abrams.
I mean, if he'd want it, right?
Yeah, exactly. If he would want to basically make that his full-time job and cut out all his other stuff, and that's why I don't think he would actually want the job. I think he could work wonders with that because no matter what you may think of him as a director, I'm a fan. I like him. I know people have some issues with him here and there, and I get it. But the guy has a love for these type of things and a real passion that shows through in the finished work, even as the production head versus the director. I think it shows through in a lot of his stuff. So if you want to give JJ and Bad Robot the helm of the DC properties for movies, I'm all in on that. But again, it would have to be something he would want to do because he's one of those guys that can say no and not have any worries about it, you know?
Right. And that's just it. He doesn't need it. And I think that's exactly the issue and I even thought of that when Dan Lin passed. I was like, well, they need Dan Lin more than he needs them.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true for almost every candidate right now is they need them more than, anybody wants to inherit this headache. So that's gotta be why it's so tough to fill that gig.
I'm sure. And you talk about I'm sorry, was it DeLuca and somebody else that you said was
Pam
going to?
Abdi. Yeah.
Yeah. So they are basically going to have it for maybe a year and a half, you said?
Well, they have it for the foreseeable future. What the year and a half was, that's the earliest any talks of someone else acquiring them can happen.
Okay. So
Is in a year and a half.
In theory, let's go with the idea that they're going to sell because that sounds like it might be an actual viable, strong option here. What is going into production in DC films in the span of the next 18 months that's not already in production, like Blue Beetle or something?
Just Joker 2 and maybe the Batman 2. And maybe one more thing that we'll talk about in a second.
Okay. All right. We'll get to that. But I mean, I'm just kind of scanning through my head. I haven't kept up with news very well the last few weeks because I've just been busier than snot with work and life and everything else. So I don't know, but nothing really popped into my head of like, we don't have any Wonder Woman or Justice League or
No,
Batman
no.
United Universe stuff. I mean, none of that stuff is really out there right now. So that job might not be the hectic mess that you'd think it would be right now.
Well, it's less about organizing what's happening because so little is happening, which is part of the problem. It is setting up what needs to happen,
True. Yeah.
and what is that path forward, which I think is the trickiest part of it.
And if these two aren't sitting in for the job full time, then that might mean we are 2 years away from anything really getting into motion, which means we're probably 4 years away from seeing it.
Right. Well, and that is part of the issue is that, they're out there and they're trying to find someone to take this job. And if the scuttlebutt around the industry is, they're just going to get sold again in 2 years. Again, that is another mark against not taking that job because it isn't going to last. It's to create a 10-year plan that might be defunct in 2 years anyway.
Yep. I mean, that's kind of par for the course at Warner Brothers right now, but I love DC. I truly do. But sometimes it drives me nuts that I love DC as much as I do.
I agree. And, and we have the show, we want to talk about Batman and we want to talk about superheroes and we want to talk about media and digging into the backdoor business of these studios is not really what we went out to do, but it's all connected. And again, as these articles come out from reputable sources like Variety and the Hollywood Reporter, I think they're worth acknowledging.
Yep.
Moving forward, this is a really quick one, because it is about the cancellation of Batgirl, not to beat a dead horse, but it's just the fact that Brendan Fraser, did address it at the Toronto International Film Festival. Someone did ask him about Batgirl and he said, The fans really wanted to see this film. Leslie Grace is a dynamo. The movie was shot and conceived for a smaller screen. And this in this age that we've come out of between streaming versus theatrical, it wound up being the canary in the coal mine. What did we learn from this? Work with trusted filmmakers like Darren. And he's talking about Darren Aronofsky, who is just directed him in The Whale, which he's getting Oscar buzz for already.
I'm hearing nothing but phenomenal things around that. I'm looking forward to seeing it myself.
Yeah. So anyway, not a lot of news there, but just that he finally addressed it. It seems like he was the last one to really talk about it.
Does that feel like, and maybe I'm reading into it too much. I don't know. Maybe he's just trying to, in the moment, circle back around and throw some praise Darren's way, which, understandably so. But does that feel or sound just a little bit like a backhand to somebody in the
It did, but I don't think it was intentional. I know what you're saying, because it almost sounds like he is almost throwing shade at the directors of Batgirl because they're not quote unquote trusted filmmakers like Darren. I think that he's there promoting The Whale, and he's being told, listen, make the conversation about The Whale. And so he had to keep trying to get it back to that. And so I don't think he meant any harm, but it did sound a little weird when you hear it.
Yeah. And to be fair, I mean, reading deeper into that, even if it would sound like a little bit of a slight against the Batgirl directors, it's not like they asked for this to happen. And they've been out there in social media, saying hopefully someday, but we did what we could. We love what we did. We're proud of it. I mean, it just, I can't hold any fault to them at all.
Yeah,
and I don't think anybody else should either.
Nope, and they're going to be fine because other studios will employ them, and sucks for WB.
So I just recently became aware these directors of Batgirl, they were involved in Miss Marvel on Disney Plus.
I think they did the pilot and the finale. Yeah.
That show, I know some people either don't want to watch it because they don't feel like it's for them or any of that, or just didn't like what was going on. And I'm here to tell you that show felt really fresh, really relevant, and I thought it was fantastic. It's one of my favorite things. It's probably my favorite thing of Marvel since Black Panther.
All right.
I really enjoyed that show a lot. I think they did an amazing job with it. It looks great. It feels great. The cast was tremendous. Great character work. So if you haven't given that a shot, y'all, I recommend getting into it.
I have not watched it. And I've said this, though. Here's my issue with Marvel right now. They can't give me a break.
Yep.
I'm like, as soon as one thing comes out, the next thing comes out. And I'm like, I haven't even had a chance to watch the last thing. Give me a minute, So I'm always behind because there's just always something new. And I know it sounds like a weird complaint, embarrassment of riches. I get it, but I'm just like, yeah, I'm just behind because it was like, what was it? It was like as soon as Moon Knight came out, Doctor Strange came out. And then as soon as Doctor Strange came out, Miss Marvel came out. And then as soon as Miss Marvel came out, Thor 4 came out. And it was just like, oh my God, just give me a minute.
I get it. You're exactly right. The good news is a lot of this stuff, even though we have the, it's all connected mantra, a lot of this does not feel terribly connected in the sense that you need to watch this before you watch the next thing. You can just kind of circle back to it. Like there's clearly references and cameos and all that other kind of stuff going on. But like Miss Marvel, Moon Knight, and She-Hulk, all, even though they are part of the grander universe, they certainly can exist on their own without any problem.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's it. A good bit of fun too.
Thor 4 comes out, and then here comes She-Hulk. I'm like, gosh, come on.
She-Hulk's taking a lot of flack too, and I got to tell you, I'm the guy that usually isn't all that impressed with the humor, especially the way it's used in so much of the Marvel universe. But I'm having a good time with She-Hulk. I'm still a couple episodes behind, but that show's fun. It truly is, because it's not afraid to be self-aware and make fun of itself a little bit.
Yeah, which is very She-Hulk anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway,
sorry, side tangent.
That's okay. So back to DeLuca and Abdi. Here is a deal they made that is very interesting. Caught a lot of people by surprise. And this was something I did see while I was on my cruise. Here's what's crazy. So when you're on the cruise, I was on the ship Wi-Fi. And on the ship Wi-Fi, the only thing you can do is check the ship's app. And if you want to actually do anything else, you have to pay extra. And I didn't want to. I wanted to be disconnected. But I would still get notifications. I just couldn't actually go in then and see stuff. So I saw enough notifications from some of you guys about like this where I was like, what the hell are they, what's going on with Constantine? Like, and then I couldn't see it until a few days later when I finally got off the ship. But they're making a sequel to the Keanu Reeves Constantine.
What?
You missed this?
Yeah?
Oh, you don't even have the excuse of being out in the middle of the ocean.
No, I'm out in the middle of working 12-hour days this week.
Yeah. So Keanu Reeves and Francis Lawrence, who made the first movie in 2005, are coming back to make a sequel now.
Okay.
And so again, this was a deal that was by DeLuca and Abdi. So again, like I'm like, if they don't find a new DC person, DeLuca and Abdi, they seem like good people. I'm hoping for the best. This is weird, but I don't hate it. So I'm kind of like, all right, they did this. So yeah, so they're coming back and making a delayed sequel to the Constantine film from 2005. And the domino effect of that is it means that the Constantine show, where scripts were already written, the J.J. Abrams show, is currently dead for now. It is worth noting that they said they're going to shop that show around too. Maybe that show will come back to life, but for now it is dead along with the Madame Xanadu series. So J.J. Abrams and Bad Robot are listed as producers on the new film. We don't have a projected production date or release date, but they did say that Akiva Goldsman is going to be writing it.
Which could go either way, good or bad.
Right. So what are your thoughts on getting a sequel to Constantine 17 years after the fact?
I'm not mad at it. I've seen the movie a couple of times. I enjoyed it. Some people seem to really have a really strong liking for it. Some people just didn't because it was just too far removed from the character of the page, if you will. I'm not mad. I'm just kind of confused. And I wonder if they've got JJ any kind of tense about this. Because how many things has he tried to get off the ground for DC so far, and they just keep swatting him back down?
Well,
that's
that
my
kind of
biggest question mark now.
Yeah, and that goes back to your point of like, oh, he could be in charge of DC films. I was like, not if they never let him get a project off the ground.
I mean, what's he tried? The things I know about so far, and catch me if I'm mistaken or forgetting anything: a Superman project, a Justice League Dark project, and a Constantine project are the three things I've heard him being at least speculatively attached to.
Uh-huh.
And I haven't seen word one about any of these things getting a green light go.
Yeah.
That's not very good pacing there, if you know what I mean. It's just, you don't have JJ come into your house and then don't let him do anything. That doesn't make a bit of sense to me. So even though I think he would do a great job and he would be wonderful for the position of, King of DC, I see almost no way it would ever happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I'll watch it. I'm not, head over heels, and I'm not mad at it. It just seems so odd to me. Of all the things they could choose from, this is where we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Just weird. And God bless Keanu Reeves. I love the guy. He seems like the sweetest person on earth. So I'll support him in just about anything at this point. Just, it's so weird.
Yep, I'm with you. When I heard this, I thought the same thing. I was like, really? Really? Huh? And I don't hate it. I'm not mad at it. Who had this on their bingo card? Nobody. But here's what I like about it. I love the chutzpah of being like, yes, we're gonna do a sequel 17 years later for a movie that did okay in 2005. I definitely like the talent involved because, yeah, I mean, Keanu Reeves has only gotten more beloved, and if he wanted to do this, like, it would be smart to get him back in the fold and go, great, like, let's revisit that. I actually think Francis Lawrence is a great filmmaker. I really like his movies. He also did I Am Legend. He did a few of the Hunger Games ones, and I feel like the movies got better when he took over the Hunger Games. So I think he's a good filmmaker. And I think he's only gotten better since he made the original Constantine, which was his filmmaking debut. So I'm down. But here's the thing is I only saw the 2005 Constantine one time in the theater, and I thought it was okay. And I remember almost nothing about it other than I certainly had no desire to revisit it. I just thought it was eh. And because of that, I am shocked by how many fans it seems to have. And it makes me, apparently, I do need to revisit it, give it another chance, because when I saw it in 2005, I just was very like, meh on it. And so I have no love for the first one, which is why I can't get that excited about a sequel. But again, I appreciate the guts it takes to do something this unexpected, and with the talent involved, I'm certainly willing to give it a shot. It just, I think it blindsided us all. And to your point, I do think that, yeah, it's another smackdown for J.J. Abrams, which is crazy because if he wants to make stuff for DC, God, give him something that he'll actually get to make for once.
I'm just sitting over here, my arms in the air and my head shaking like, why? And I don't mean to disrespect Constantine or Keanu Reeves or Francis Lawrence or any of that. Of all of the endless things that you could choose from, this is what we went with?
Yeah.
Like if we got 5 or 6 other things in production and they're like, hey, we're going to go ahead and just slide this into, now I get it. But with this graveyard, this desolate wasteland of nothing in production right now for DC, this is what we're choosing? You think this is worth theatrical release versus, I don't know, Batgirl? But yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah. I'm gonna look. I'm trying to remember what it cost. I want to say it cost like 70 million, something like that. And it
Which
made
for
like
05 was not dirt cheap.
no, not at all. It made 200. It cost 100 million, and it made 230 million worldwide. So exactly, it did okay. If it was cheaper, it probably would have already had a sequel by now. But because it cost $100 million in 2005, I think that's what hurt it. But yeah, it did okay.
I mean,
Interesting.
the marketing push probably wasn't massive like it would have been for a Batman or Superman or something like that. So, I mean, let's give them the benefit of the doubt and say it broke even, and then with home video stuff, it probably
Yeah.
came out
Yeah.
on the plus. But 17 years later, on those kind of numbers, we're getting a sequel. Like
Yeah.
Top Gun took 36 years, but the first one was a runaway success, and obviously we know the second one clearly was. So that
Yeah.
makes sense. This one just, I'm baffled.
Well,
I'm
I think
truly
I think
baffled.
it's all about the talent and not the movie.
I
It's the
think that's
fact that
fair. I
Keanu
think
wants
that's
to
fair.
do it. And we all love Keanu. So I think that it's that. And then, as I said, Francis Lawrence has only grown in esteem as a filmmaker. And I think I can imagine him wanting another bite at it, trying to improve on what he did the first time.
I'll
So,
support it. I'll watch it. I'm just
yeah, yeah.
the biggest thing for me is why. That's my biggest hang up here. Why? Other than what you say with placating talent at this point.
Yeah. So I'm certainly intrigued by it. I will watch it. I will go to see it. Of course I will. And what's funny is you did mention that the people who don't like the movie tend to not like it because it's not comic book accurate. When I saw the movie, I was completely unfamiliar with Constantine, so that was not even an issue for me. I've since, of course, gotten more familiar with the character because he's been very prevalent over the past 10 years or so. My issue with it was, and this is just my memory, it's been 17 years, so give me a little bit of credit, or give me a little bit of benefit of the doubt. My memory in the movie is that Constantine just did not seem good at his job. I just remember he had trouble with everything in that movie where I was like, I thought he was supposed to be good at this. I thought he was supposed to be an exorcist. And that's my memory of the movie of being like, shouldn't he be good at it at the beginning of the movie and then a new challenge emerges that challenges him? But it seems like no, from the very first scene, he's not very good at being an exorcist. So
Maybe it's Constantine Begins.
I need to watch it again. Yeah, I need to watch it again. And
I've seen it twice. I saw it when it first hit home video, and I probably watched it again. I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I don't remember. I remember the one of the closing scenes because it made me laugh both times.
I remember. I think
kind of-
that's how I met Tilda Swinton was in this movie.
That's right. Oh, I forgot about that. I love her.
Yeah. Oh, and she's a treasure. But I think this was the first time I ever saw her. Was in this.
That would have came out the same time, roughly, as Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, and that's
Yeah,
the
except
first thing I can
I
remember.
think this came out in the spring, and Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe came out for Christmas. So
Okay.
same year.
Well, which means by the time it hit home video, I would have already seen Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe in the theater. So that was still technically my introduction to her. So
Yeah.
anyway, beside the point. But I don't, like you, I don't remember a lot of details about the movie. I would have to watch it again. But I remember liking it more the second time than the first, but still obviously not enough to add it to rotation or even remember much of the detail of the film. So
Well, a bunch of the folks in the Real Fans group are counting it for Scarathon. They're all revisiting it because of this news. So I guess I'll count it as Scarathon, and I'll give it a shot sometime soon.
all right then.
I mean, there's exorcisms, right? There's demons. I guess it counts.
It fits the bill, I suppose.
It's a bit of a stretch, but okay, I'll allow
I mean,
it.
Godzilla would be a better choice, but
I wouldn't go that far. Okay, so crazy news, but like intriguing. So that is the third project that could move forward in the next 2 years for DC. So Joker 2 is the one that is moving forward, so full steam ahead. The Batman, depending on how quickly they get to the script to a place they want it and everything, that could go into production in the next 2 years. We just don't know. And then now this, but this could also fall apart just as easily. You just don't know.
oh, that's true. I mean, we are talking about a DC property, so we might be less than 30 days away from the announcement that this is dead.
Yeah. I mean, but I have my tickets for Steven Spielberg's Black Hawk movie right now.
Yep. Was it Len Weissman that was going to do Justice League Dark?
Oh God, I think so.
Many, many, many moons ago, 5 or 6 years ago.
Doug Liman was going to do it too.
Doug Liman, that's right.
Yeah.
I get those two confused. Sorry.
Yep, I'd like that.
I mean, we can just go down the list at this point, right? The Flash, they've been talking about making that Flash movie. There's that never happened.
Oh, geez. All right. So this is another little random tidbit, but worth mentioning is Batman: The Audio Adventures. That was the HBO Max podcast. Season 2 is coming October 7th.
I should probably watch or listen to or whatever it is, season 1 at some point.
Well, I didn't listen to season 1 because they dropped the first 2 episodes on podcast apps, which I listened to. And then the rest you had to listen to on HBO Max. And I just couldn't get myself in the habit of watching a podcast on HBO Max. So I just kind of let it slide. And now to prep for season 2, they've dropped all of season 1 onto the podcast apps. And I've been catching up. It's really cool. It's really fun. Episodes are about 30, 35 minutes. I really like it. Now that I can listen to it like a normal podcast, I like it even more. And it seems like season 2 might be a little Halloween-y because the artwork has Batman with a big jack-o'-lantern grin.
You don't say.
Yeah. So that's fun. I have enjoyed season 1. I still need to finish it, but I'm glad that they're continuing with it and we're getting a season 2.
All right, then. I'll get around to it one of these days.
The next thing is the tiniest thing, but worth a mention, is that James Gunn, he tweeted out a celebration of Harley Quinn's 30th birthday. And so he tweeted out, Harley Quinn debuted 30 years ago today, September 11th, 1992. Thanks to Paul Dini and Bruce Timm for creating this wonderful character. I find an absolute joy to write, direct, and create stories for. And a fan asked him, will Harley Quinn return in the DCEU? And James Gunn just said yes. And
you could take this any number of ways, I believe.
Yeah, I mean, it's worth mentioning because after the Suicide Squad, there was a question, will we get to see Margot Robbie's Harley again? And we didn't know. So this could be on HBO Max. This could be on Peacemaker. This could be on the other show that James Gunn's working on, the whatever it is, the Amanda Waller show. It could be another movie. Who knows? But I hope this just means that we will get more of Margot Robbie as Harley.
Well, I mean, it could be a really specific answer to any one of those things you just said, or something else we don't know about. Or it could just be a really vague answer that he's very confident that, yes, Harley Quinn is going to show back up on a movie screen at some point.
Eh,
Even if he's not involved or whatever else, she's too big of a character to just vanish and go away.
I mean, it's possible, but because they specifically asked about DCEU, I take that to mean Margot Robbie. But you're right. It could end up being nothing, but
These people, when being interviewed or responding to fans or anything else, they have a tendency of being coy, and they know how to give an answer without actually giving an answer. Reference point: asking Ben Affleck if he would be Batman for Matt Reeves. Are you kidding? I'd be an ape on the ground for Matt Reeves. He gave an answer. People had their translation of the answer, but if you get down to it and break it down, he didn't really give an answer to that question,
Yeah.
So just an example. Not saying that that's what James Gunn is doing, but it might be,
Well, but here's why I will give James Gunn the credit is because this was a tweet. He could have just ignored it.
True. Very true.
Anyway, thought it was worth a mention. Interesting. And then the last thing, which is now kind of old news, and I admit it, but hey, I've been gone, is that we got the second and I assume final trailer for Black Adam. Came out 2 days before I got on my cruise. We have not talked about it on the show yet, and so I still thought it was worth a mention. I made you watch it before we hit record. So I want to get your thoughts on the second trailer for Black Adam.
Well, I've always had an interest in this movie, but I've had a very difficult time getting hyped for this movie. I like The Rock. I'm a fan. The guy's charismatic as they come. He's really, to me, the closest thing we have to a real blockbuster movie star in today's day and age, because that just doesn't seem, movies don't seem to have the star power wallop that they used to carry in, say, even the 80s or 90s with, Schwarzenegger or something like that. And I just feel like Dwayne Johnson is that guy, or the closest thing that we have right now to that guy. I watched this trailer and I really liked it. It's really the most excited I've been for this film since the announcement or any of the other promotional materials that have come across. Maybe it just caught me in the right mood this morning. Maybe it just gave me enough of the action beats. I mean, some of the stuff is recycled from what they showed previously, but I don't know. It just feels like they showed me a little more action, a little bit more of the scale, like the expansive scale of it. And I like what I saw. I really did. I'm interested to see how these other characters are going to be involved. And this leads the clue to this kind of being a movie about the Justice Society pursuing Black Adam and trying to subdue him in some way, which we expected that to happen. But this trailer is the first thing that's really given me the indication that that's going to be like the central focus of the movie.
Mm.
But yeah, I liked what I saw.
I agree. I love the trailer. I mean, I've already been looking forward to the film. I've liked what we've seen previously. And this new trailer is not completely different than what we've already seen. I think that it is more of the same as far as tone, as far as scenes go, but there's a little more context. And to your point, what I really love is there's a lot more scale. It's a lot bigger. It feels a lot more epic. The movie's finished now, so we get some of the bigger effects shots that that had only been hinted at previous to this trailer. And so it's still very consistent with what we had seen previously. The setup of his son died for him. But in this trailer, we see more of his power, how powerful he is with just, that electricity just all over his body, or the blasts of electricity he can do, the scale of the powers of the Justice Society. And so, yeah, it looks like bigger and more exciting and more epic than what we'd seen thus far. And I thought it was really cool. I loved getting a little tidbit with Amanda Waller. We talked about in the past how great Viola Davis is in that role. I love that she shows up in this, and I love that she's the one who's working with the Justice Society to go stop what they call they call him a wild card, something like that. We need to take him down before innocent people get hurt. Black Adam is out there. He is causing trouble, and so the Justice Society is working with Amanda Waller to contain him and to make sure that no one gets hurt. So I love that. Like you said, I love that this is truly, they need to go out there and stop him so someone doesn't get hurt. And I'm sure that as it goes, they eventually have to team up, because you get the same, that same sort of call to action at the end that we have heard previously, where Dr. Fate says, you have two choices. You can be the destroyer of this world, or you can be its savior. And Black Adam, we know, at least in this movie, is probably going to choose the latter. He's gonna have his heroic moment, and it still will not last, but it'll be enough. I think it's a great trailer. I'm really excited about it. The powers of the Justice Society, much like Black Adam, look really cool. I love the tidbits we get of Hawkman and Cyclone and Dr. Fate, and we get our first look at the villain, Sabak. I can't remember. We never decided how it's said. We'll find out when we see the movie. But we don't get a full reveal, but we get him from the back, and we get him at a distance, and he's pretty cool looking. You even asked me, ooh, that looks like Trigon. It does. It has a little Trigon energy. So yeah, I think it's a really badass trailer myself.
Yeah, I think we're pretty much on the same page there.
And the movie's what now? A month away?
Yeah, about that.
Yeah, so we're recording this on September 18th. The movie comes out October 21st, so just over a month.
Let me ask you, since you're the authority, since there is a demon as the villain in this, can I count this for Scarathon when I go see it?
No.
Okay, just
no.
checking.
I'm going to say no.
All right.
I also appreciate, I think it's Hawkman who says, give us something that will hold them and we'll take care of the rest. I think that's pretty great. And then
he's also the one that tells Adam, we're here to negotiate your peaceful surrender.
Yeah.
And he has kind of that smirk on his face when he says it a little bit. Just, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing all this action take place, because obviously they're holding back quite a bit, or at least I hope they are. What I don't want is for Hawkman to get punked every step of the way. I want him to have his moments too.
Yeah.
I want all these characters to have their moments.
I completely agree.
But all I see action-wise is Adam just kind of, batting him around like he's not even there, kind of thing.
Yeah,
I don't want that to be the running theme.
No, I agree with you, and especially because Hawkman is who I am most excited about in this movie.
I think Dr. Fate is probably my number one, but Hawkman is not far behind him.
Yeah. So I agree with you. Is like, obviously Black Adam is going to get the better of him, and we do see that in this trailer and in the previous trailers, but you're right. He also better have some badass moments where he's got the upper hand. And there is a great moment where he is facing off against Sabak, however you say it, where he like twirls the mace and he's ready to go into battle, and he looks really badass.
He looks, they all look fantastic.
Yeah, design wise, they're all amazing. I don't have a complaint. Yep.
I mean, even Adam himself looks terrific in this trailer.
Oh yeah, they all look amazing. And like I said, when The Rock is in the Black Adam gear and he is just pulsing with that electrical power, you're like, oh hell yeah, this is what I want to see.
Yeah,
it's great.
That's what you would expect, right?
Yeah, and there's the moment where we had seen the sequence before where I assume it's when he wakes up and he takes down these mercenaries, but in here he has the line of "Your magic is weak," which is pretty great too.
That's why I say they're showing us more of the same. They're just kind of giving that little extra on the end of it, if you will, or showing a different perspective of it.
Agreed.
I mean, not a lot of it is different than what we've seen before as far as like setting and whatnot. It's just that little extra for the final trailer, presumably final trailer.
Yeah. There's also a moment where Black Adam is flying and he's looking up and he says, "I kneel to no one." And there's been some speculation about that, of who he might be speaking to. Specifically, he might be speaking to Superman.
He's clearly talking to Zod.
I mean, that would be the most obvious answer, and I would agree with you. But it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I hope you're right, but I'm not holding my breath.
I
He
think
could
that
just
might
be
be.
talking to Dr. Fate or to Sabak or something.
Yeah, I really think that people might be getting excited, putting the cart before the horse, if you will. And listen, I want Superman to be in this movie, as we all
Oh
do,
yeah, yeah.
but I am not going to bet the farm on that happening at this point.
That's just it. Here we go. Here, go into Black Adam, and no one's gonna ever listen to me when I say this, but go into Black Adam, excited to see a movie that stars Black Adam and the Justice Society, and then grade the movie based on that. How did they deliver Black Adam and these characters of the Justice Society? Don't go in expecting a Superman movie and then be mad when you don't get it. If Superman pops in, which I'm with you, I hope that happens. I'm all for it. That's a bonus. But that should not be the deciding factor whether or not you like this movie. And
And
again, no one's going to listen to me.
people that follow Dwayne Johnson, which is pretty much the whole planet on social media, they're getting excited about teases and phrases that he's saying, vague as they may be, that he's dropping hints about that happening, right? I refer you back to sometime in 2014, 15, somewhere around there, where The Rock was heavily promoting the Hercules movie that nobody watched.
I still haven't watched.
And me
But I
either.
hear WB's greenlit a sequel.
If you'll recall, Leroy back on the Real Fans podcast, he was all
He
kinds of
loved
excited
it.
about
He
this.
loved
He was,
it.
he
It was
was
his
all
favorite
into it.
movie that year.
And The Rock kept doing the hashtag about the 7 trials or whatever it was. And then, do you guys remember how Transformers mad Leroy was that the 7 trials or whatever it was were not in the film, even though The Rock had that hashtag on every promotional thing he did for it? I'm just saying, Dwayne Johnson is not above piquing your excitement on things that are not going to pop up in a film, is all I'm trying to say, people.
Yeah. And I mean, and that's kind of my point, is like, don't have unrealistic expectations for what you're going to get from this movie. Expect Black Adam and the Justice Society, because that's what they're promising you. Anything in addition to that is a bonus.
To quote Mel Gibson from The Patriot, aim small, miss small.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I also did appreciate where I think where you said Hawkman says, "We've come to negotiate your peaceful surrender," and he says, "I'm not peaceful and I don't surrender." That's great.
I mean, it's the response that you would certainly expect in that moment.
Yeah.
He's not going to say, "Come sit down at the table, let's talk about this."
Right. So
I don't know. I'm seeing more things in this that just got me. Maybe it's just because I know I'm closer to the release of the film, and I know there's very little risk of this being canceled or yanked out from under me at this point. But yeah, I can feel my excitement starting to build. I'm not like hyped for this like I would be a Batman or Superman movie or Wonder Woman 3 or a trailer for Aquaman 2, any of that stuff. But like I'm getting into the groove with it now.
Oh, and I'm with you. Yes, I'm not as excited as I would be if it was Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, or even Aquaman, but I'm still excited. I'm still looking forward to it. And it's a DC movie we get to see in just about a month, because then it's going to be a minute before we see another one.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get excited and let's enjoy this one.
Take it where you can get it at this point, y'all.
Yeah, I thought it was a great trailer. I'm excited about it. Can't wait for the movie. It's babysitter worthy. We will get a babysitter. I will see this in the theater.
Right on.
Cool. All right. Well, that's what I got for news. Oh, one quick thing. Just because if people are like, why don't you talk about this? I have some homework to do later today, maybe tomorrow, is I've got to watch Bat Wheels because apparently that is now on HBO Max.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I have not watched it yet, though, so I don't really have anything to say about it, but I know has dropped officially. So I'm going to be watching that. And then the Zack Snyder episode of Teen Titans Go came out the other day. And it is right? Not on HBO Max. I checked. Okay. So I might just have to buy it because I don't know if I can wait. But I've already seen some things making the rounds that it looks pretty fun.
Bat Wheels has been added to my queue for watch list.
Good. So if you're like, well, why aren't you talking about Batwheels? Why aren't you talking about Zack Snyder and Teen Titans Go? It's because I haven't watched them yet.
Speaking of DC animated, you current on Harley Quinn?
I think I am one episode behind.
Because I think 10 was the season finale, and I just watched 9 last night. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, but this might be my favorite season of that show yet.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, I'm at least one behind, maybe two.
I love the feel and theming of this season.
Okay.
That's all I'll say at this point. I'm sure we'll get around to an episode where we cover things on it. But yeah, for a show that I really was biting my nails about, oh God, is this really going to be something I want to watch? To now I try and watch it every time an episode pops up, even though my schedule won't allow for it right now.
Mm.
Love it. It's great.
Great. Well, I got to catch up on it.
There's an episode, I think it's number 8. I think the title of it's something like Batman Begins Forever or something like that.
I did watch that one.
Oh, that was fantastic. Anyway, when we cover Harley Quinn, we'll come back to that. But yeah.
All right. Okay, well, that's it for the news for now. There will always be more. But we do have to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Derek, what is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all, Master Wayne.
All right, first question here is from our pal James Mullins. It says, hey guys, have any of you listened to or finished Batman Unburied or the Batman audio adventures, which finally hit podcast feeds? Thoughts on making an audio medium only available on a video streaming platform? And if for some reason you were to have to watch a member of the Bat family twerk in live action, who would it be? Thank you for your time and the weekly boost to my Mondays. You're the lasagna to my Garfield, James Mullins. Lasagna to your Garfield. I mean, I think that's as good a compliment as we could ever get.
That may be the nicest thing anybody's ever said to me, except for Titty Moss.
Yeah. So, I mean, funny, we just mentioned this. I have not listened to Batman Unburied yet because I'm not a Spotify guy, so I just need to do that. But Audio Adventures, I think I just said that. I couldn't watch it on HBO Max. It just didn't work for me. But I really like it when I can listen to it like a regular podcast.
It to me, I mean, to answer his question about an audio presentation on a video format, I mean, that's just a bizarre choice to me. It feels
is.
like they almost did it for filler. Let's get one more Batman thing up in people's faces on HBO Max, and I feel like that's the reason they did it. Or they're trying to drive traffic from there to the podcast app, which I don't think makes a tremendous amount of sense either, other than it doesn't cost them much to put it on HBO Max to do so, free advertising and what have you. So bizarre choice. I don't really get it, and no, I haven't listened to any of that stuff.
Yeah. And if you're going to watch a member of the Bat family twerk, who would it be? The answer is Nightwing.
I was going to say that too. I mean, that's not even my persuasion, but I mean, who has a better ass than Dick Grayson in the DC universe?
Yeah, he's got the equipment. Next message from Jim Scroggs. It says, how dare you bring up Brendan Gleeson and not mention his role in the modern masterpiece Paddington 2? I'm aghast at your foolishness. I love the show, but seriously, watch Paddington 2. I've not watched either Paddington movie, Jim, so I did not know Brendan Gleeson was in those.
Same. I've never seen either of the films.
I appreciate the recommendation. Will I watch it? Probably not.
I hear nothing but great things about those movies. It's just, my kids aren't young as they once were, so it's just not something that's kind of in anybody's crosshairs right now to get done.
Yeah. I will say, we talked about Brendan Gleeson, and do you know what I did not bring up because I'm a fool? Harry Potter.
Oh, that's right.
He's Mad-Eye Moody.
Yeah.
Mad-Eye Moody.
Speaking of movies that I watched.
My wife's so mad at me because I just screwed that up. Mad-Eye Moody. Shit.
Maybe. I've watched each one of the Harry Potter films.
Moody. Mad-Eye Moody with a D.
That sounds right.
Save your emails.
Speaking of movies I've watched twice each and remember damn near nothing about any of. I don't know what it is. My daughter is obsessed with Harry Potter. Like, she's watched every one of those movies like 40 times now. And I've seen each of them twice, and I couldn't tell you what happens in what movie, when, where.
Yeah, it's not really my thing. Like, I like the world. I think it's pretty. But yeah,
And
it's
I don't dislike it. It's just I
yeah,
don't get into it like so many people seem to.
exactly. Same. Which is why I screwed that up. It's like one of the few things that me and Catherine disagree on. Also, Jason versus Michael Myers.
Well, that's because even though she's a wonderful human being and I adore her like my own family, she's dead ass wrong about that Michael versus Jason thing.
I
Dead
know,
ass
but nobody can truly be perfect.
That's a true story. That's a true story.
Okay. Next message is from Mohammed. It says, "Hey guys, I hope you're doing well. I hope Andy enjoyed his first cruise with Harley and Catherine. Now onto the topic at hand, the great acts of Zaslav. Love him or hate him, he is making moves, some quite unpopular, some unprecedented, and some downright hated, with very few sprinkles of good news in between. I love animation. In fact, I adore it so much, I got into my first car accident due to me listening to Pencils and Pixels with Andy discussing animation. I've since stopped listening to podcasts while driving. Nobody got hurt or injured except for a small dent in the front of my car and my wallet. You get where I'm going. So when the news of various HBO Max's original animation being deplatformed and being canceled, I was quite frankly pissed at Zaslav. Animation is a very disrespected medium by the public, and I found these moves quite concerning. By canceling these shows, creatives would start looking elsewhere before approaching WB. They have a long plethora of beloved characters, but yet they piss away all the potential. I want animation to reach a new renaissance. I want a new series which has high-quality animation and storytelling, yet all I can see is doom and gloom with DC animation. I don't know what the future holds, but quite frankly, I'm tired of the drama. Sorry for the long email, but I wanted to get this off my chest. Love and peace always, Muhammad Adil Jafar." Or is it Muhammad Adil Jafar? Because however I say it is always wrong.
You're so suburban.
I know. So first of all, I'm glad everyone's okay after the car accident. I'm sorry that From Pencils to Pixels distracted you so. But yeah, be safe, drive safe. I'll just say I agree. I love animation as well. I love DC animation, and it does feel like Zaslav doesn't see a lot of value in it. He certainly doesn't see a lot of value in keeping it in-house. It seems like there's only value if he can sell it. And so, yeah, it is one of many concerning decisions that he has made. So I'll just agree with you on that.
I mean, I don't feel like that's exclusively a DC thing either. I think that's kind of everybody. And I don't pay a lot of attention to all the animated stuff that's floating out there, but one of the recent examples I can think on the other side of the fence is Avengers: Earth's Mightiest Heroes was a fantastic show.
Yeah.
And got axed after 2 seasons?
Yeah.
And then they replaced it with some other Avengers show that was not anywhere near the quality or caliber that one was. I don't even remember the name of it. I remember Roman going ballistic about how awful the show was, though. And I felt like when Disney bought Marvel, we were going to see Marvel in Pixar or DC animation, I thought that was going to elevate it. And instead you see things like, what is it? I Am Groot, where it's like a series of shorts, kind of like, I haven't watched it. I don't know. I assume it's maybe like Teen Titans Go, where it's like, little 10-minute episode segments here and there. I don't feel like anybody is really capitalizing on the animated potential with this superhero stuff, because you literally don't have to worry about anything as far as scale or budget or any of that stuff when you're doing it, because you can do anything in animation without giant set pieces and stunt work and CGI and all that other stuff. You just have to, draw it either on the computer or on the page, right?
Yeah.
And I don't feel like of course, DC gives us, 3 or 4 animated films a year on the direct-to-video releases. So I'm not trying to disrespect those in any way, but I just don't feel like they are taking advantage of this medium where they can literally give us Zack Snyder's Justice League 2 and 3 or whatever, without having to worry about spending $500 million to make the the two movies. I agree. I would just like to see them take advantage of this and give us more presentation of things that they know there's no way they're going to get us in theaters, but there's a small but loyal fan following that would love to see somehow conclusions or arcs done in some way or another. And when no other choice is there, animation can be done for a very reasonable cost.
Yep.
Or don't even get me started on series that you could do. Like, I don't know, you could do a Batman animated series and keep it on HBO Max.
Yeah. Agreed. I love animation. I'd love to see more of it. I mean, and this is something we haven't talked about because it hasn't been touched yet, is the animated DC movies that have been going now for 15 years. Like, what's going to happen with those? We shall see. All right, next message is our pal Stuart from Guernsey. It says, "Hey guys, how awesome does the new trailer for Black Adam look? I can't wait for the movie. I'm a lot more hyped than I originally was. Do you think you'll review the Superman Shazam Return of Black Adam before the movie comes out? It's short in runtime, so not much time will be needed to prep. Also, I'm glad you're reviewing The Batman. I haven't watched it for years, but after watching the first 2 episodes, I'm all in and eager to watch it with you guys. I used to watch it off and on when it aired, and then again when my son was younger. I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive into the show with you and watching all the way through in order. Anyway, hope you're doing well and I hope you enjoyed your cruise, Andy. Stuart." Thanks, Stuart. I did enjoy my cruise. It was fabulous, and I'm sad that I'm not on it anymore. But I also need a break from eating because I ate way too much and I have guilt. I thought we reviewed The Return of Black Adam. Did we not?
I don't remember, honestly.
Oh, I have to check. I have to go back and check. If we've not reviewed it, that's a great idea. But for some reason, I thought we had.
Sometimes I get confused because we get those conversations going in the Real Fans group, and I forget whether or not we did it on a show or in the group.
I know. I feel like we reviewed it before Shazam came out, but I could be wrong.
I'm trying to remember now because there's a scene in that movie that I love. For all of you who have seen it, those who haven't, plug your ears for 5 seconds. But the bit where they're holding Batson's head under the water and he says the words and the bubbles come up and Shazam pops out of the bubbles like audibly.
Yeah, see, I remember discussing that.
Yeah, I remember Brendan saying how much he didn't like it because Brendan has replaced my wife as the destroyer of all things beautiful now.
Yeah,
But
he used to be fun.
Even though I know the realism isn't part of that, I love that scene and I think it's great.
Yeah, see, that conversation totally rings a bell.
Exactly. And I don't remember if it was a chat or if we actually talked about it on a recording.
Oh my God. I feel like we did it. I could be wrong, but I feel like we did.
Well, I'll tell you what, you go ahead and scan through your phone through 350 some episodes and see where it's at. And I'll sit here and hum Girl from
Oh, we did. We did it. March 11th, 2019.
There you go. That would have been right about the time Shazam came out, right?
Yeah, exactly. We did it in prep for Shazam. So there you go. March of 2019. I can't tell what episode this is. I'd have to check the episode number. But yes, we did it. Because you're right. Everything you just said, I remember that conversation. All right. So what else? That's it. I'm glad he's glad we're reviewing the Batman. We're not doing it this episode because again, I just got back and I haven't watched anything. But we will get back to it. Jamie's not super psyched. But I'm glad that you are, Stuart.
No, today we're reviewing Brave and the Bold season 1, episode 1. That's how we're going to do it. Brendan has to do the Batman episodes, and I'm going to do the Brave and the Bold episodes, and Andy's just caught in the crossfire.
Okay, that's fine. All right, next message is from Oriel. I hope I'm saying that right. It says, "Dear guys, this is Oriel from Spain. In my last emails, I asked you for some recommendations on comics like Joker. I already had read Penguin, Pain, and Prejudice, and I liked it. Even the panels are quite dark. Sometimes it wasn't clear for me to understand what was drawn. Next on my night table is Batman Death and the Maidens. I think it's one of Jamie's favorites, so thank you for your recommendations."
Yes, good story.
Recently, I purchased a weed whacker from Manscaped using the promo code because I wanted to support your show. Perhaps in the near future, I'll buy the foot deodorant because Jamie sold it to me.
I
There
didn't
you go.
have it on yesterday, and when I got home from my 12-hour day at work, my daughter let me know about it.
All right.
Just saying.
Well, good. He also says, I wanted to recommend to all the listeners to check out the ET review that you recorded for Real Fans for Real Movies. It really moved me, Andy, especially when you talked about your grandma. I always remember the first and only time I went to the movies with my grandma to watch Jurassic Park. At one point, she told me to cover my face when the T-Rex attacked, and I covered it slightly, keeping some space between the fingers to watch. So let's get to the point. Since the release of the Batman, I have a theory about why the Riddler costume covers so much of his face. I think Matt Reeves chose to make it this way because of the facial recognition technology that Batman has in his contacts. If they had chosen the Riddler costume with the green hat and the mask, like in comics, this technology would have been able to identify him immediately, that the Riddler was Edward Nashton. I didn't see or hear this theory anywhere, and I thought I'd throw it out there. In honor of your daughter, Andy, I'll read the comic book Harleen. Have you read it, and what did you think? Thanks for the great work and hours of entertainment. P.S. Jamie, I also like driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, there we go.
Thanks, Oriole. Great to hear from you. I'm glad you appreciated the recommendations. I'm glad you did some shopping on Manscaped. And I'm glad you enjoyed the ET episode of RF for RM. That one was really fun. It was me, Jamie, and Michael Lyons. And yeah, that movie holds such a special place in my heart. And if you guys want to hear about it, go check that out. I think it
Got
was
a lot of positive feedback on that episode. A lot of
yeah, yeah. That I think was the last episode of Real Fans. So
that sounds right.
Easy to find. But yeah, I'm glad you appreciated it. I had a blast recording it, even if it got a little sappy. So as for the Riddler costume covers so much of his face, I think it's an interesting theory. Except the Riddler wouldn't know that Batman has that technology.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The theory's sound, it makes sense, but why would Riddler know that Batman had these contact lenses that did that?
Yeah,
That's the only reason I would say that doesn't hold water.
Yeah. Still, I think that the point is, yes, he's trying to hide everything about himself, but I still thought there were other ways to do that without that mask that I'm not a big fan of.
At some point, I think you have to, even if you're trying to make something grounded and realistic, at some point you have to have a suspension of disbelief. Like, for years we've read comic books and watched movies, the Dark Knight trilogy, Matt Reeves' Batman, all this stuff that have had these grounded and realistic feels to them. But you're going to tell me that no matter how much of himself is covered, Batman never left a trace of DNA in any scene that he was in for somebody to be able to figure out who he was? I mean, he gets punched in the mouth and spit and blood lands on the ground somewhere. You're going to tell me he knows exactly where that went, and he went and sprayed it with bleach like he was in Boondock Saints so that they can't figure out that's him. At some point, you just have to let go of things and just go with the presentation as it is. And in the case of the facial recognition technology, I mean, who's to say that, he couldn't have just had the domino mask just a little bit bigger so it covered the cheekbones to the bottom. Like the only thing that you can really see is the eyes and the mouth. It just,
Yeah.
I think there's ways to still make it a more classic look and not give way to something like that.
For sure. I think it was Jamie Magoo who said this, and I totally agree, is even if he had been wearing the bowler hat, but on all the videos, he was just completely in shadow and you just kind of saw his silhouette, that would still prevent any facial recognition. It would still be more traditional.
Good point.
And then I have not read Harleen, but I guess I'll have to check it out. I don't know if it's worth it or not, but I haven't read it yet.
I don't think I've read that one either.
All right, next message is from Mark Jurasevic. It says, hey there, hope all is well. I'm very much looking forward to Black Adam, more so for the introduction of the JSA than the main character himself. As speculation, where do you think the JSA fits into the current DCEU, and particularly in relation to the Justice League? I wonder if the JSA is being groomed to replace the Justice League as the primary DCEU superhero team. With that in mind, who would you like to see join the team from the current DCEU, including members of the previous Justice League? Personally, I'd love to see Shazam or a member of the Shazam family like Mary Marvel, Wonder Woman, and Aquaman. I'd also like to see another version of Superman, similar to the classic stories of an older Earth 2 version of Superman. My pick for this would be John Hamm. It also seems that the depiction of the JSA seems to be influenced by the classic run by Jeff Johns and Rags Morales. The dynamic between Black Adam and Shazam was wonderfully portrayed in this run, with Atom Smasher and Hawkman also having prominent roles. Excuse me. Finally, I was wondering if you'd consider reviewing the two-part Smallville episode featuring the JSA. I was hoping to rewatch this episode to sync with the Talkville podcast, which is great, but may need to fast forward as I'm keen to revisit it. Anyway, take care. Thanks for answering my questions. Regards, Mark. Okay. So, I've not read the Jeff Johns Morales run, but I think that that's a good theory. Reviewing the Smallville JSA episodes is a good idea. I never really thought of that, but I'm open to that. But most importantly, how do you think the JSA is going to fit into the DCEU, Jamie?
I don't really know, but I don't think we've got any guarantee that any of these JSA people are going to survive to see Black Adam 2, if you know what I mean.
Oh.
And I'm not saying that's what I want to happen or will happen or anything else, but I mean, DC has a history of not letting their villains survive to see sequels, so I don't know why in the case of when we're making the villain the focal point, the heroes would survive to see the sequel, just going by history of some things. If they incorporate them somehow as a mixed bag with current Justice League members like Aquaman, Wonder Woman, any of that stuff, I'm certainly open to that and wouldn't have any objection to it at all. I mean, there's history of Hawkman being a part of both, so I see no reason why that couldn't happen. I don't know. I don't know what it is that I expect, if anything, is going to come out of that, but I look forward to seeing it, and I'll be okay with it pretty much any which way, I hope.
Yeah, I have a hunch that part of the reason they're being introduced in Black Adam is to give them options. For the reasons you said, is it could be that the JSA becomes the superhero team. They could mix and match with the members of the Justice League that are still around. And I kind of like that. I kind of like the idea of taking these 4 JSA members and bringing in Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Shazam, whatever, the Flash. I think that could be really fun. But I do think that part of the reason they're being introduced in this film was to give another superhero team some foothold in the shared universe to then help make up for where the Justice League is kind of falling apart a bit. All right. Oh, this next one will be interesting because it's not Batman related, but Jamie, I already know your thoughts. It says, Hey, Batcasters. I started listening to Holy BatCast after running out of Disorder episodes. I just listened to episode 300, so I got 60 or so left until I'm caught up. I was going to wait to then to start writing, but this week my wife and I are staying in the Stanley Hotel in Colorado, which is the inspiration for The Shining. In honor of our stay, we watched The Shining for the first time. After it ended, I immediately thought of you guys and wanted to ask your thoughts. Is it high on your list of horror movies, and does it make your annual scare-a-thon? Also, what's your favorite scene? I'm not a big horror person, but I really liked the film. My favorite is when Danny goes to get his fire truck from his room and he ends up sitting on the bed with Jack and talking and asking if Jack would ever hurt him and his mom. I can't put into words, but Nicholson's performance really grabbed me. Thanks for hopefully reading my email, even though it's not Batman related. I can't wait to get to the episode where it is read. Obligatory sorry for the long email and Wilfred Jackson mention. Oops, wrong podcast. Love the podcast, Andrew. Thanks, Andrew. And yeah, it's not about Batman, but that's okay. We are in Scare-a-thon. And cool that you went to the Stanley Hotel. So I'll save my thoughts. Jamie, I want you to share your thoughts about The Shining.
Okay. I'm going to preface this by saying all people out there who are big fanboys, girls of Stanley Kubrick, you might want to go ahead and just fast forward through this next part here, because like most other Kubrick films that I have seen, I find The Shining to be an expertly crafted, influential, well-made film with a spectacular lead. Nicholson is Nicholson for a reason. I recognize that this film has been referenced and revered throughout the years, like much of Kubrick's other work. I get no exhilaration from this film. I've watched it twice. It just does nothing for me, which is pretty much the MO of every Kubrick film I've ever watched. I just am not a fan. The guy's work does not speak to me. His voice does not speak to me. I recognize and respect his influence and abilities and talent and all that. It's just not stuff made for my particular taste palette. That said, the sequel, Doctor Sleep, I love that movie. I think it's great, and that's in my annual Scare-a-thon. But the brilliance of that movie is it exists not only as a sequel to the Kubrick film, but as a sequel to the Stephen King book, which very famously, Stephen King is not a fan of Stanley Kubrick's Shining film. And that's a very long history that you can go Google and read about and everything else. But Dr. Sleep, I think, is pretty brilliant. And I think Rose the Hat is a fantastic antagonist in that film. And Ewan McGregor's performance, also great. Just, I'm not a fan of The Shining, is basically what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm.
Great music. I mean, the score is excellent in that film. And it's good looking. It does nothing for me.
All right. I love Kubrick's The Shining. I think it's a great movie. I love it. I don't watch it all that often, though. But whenever I do love it. And I agree with you. I think Dr. Sleep was amazing. And what a fine needle to thread to do a sequel to the movie and a sequel to the book, but also make a standalone movie. And he did it. Mike Flanagan nailed it. And I thought it was wonderful. But I don't watch The Shining as part of my Scare-a-thon. Any guess why, Jamie?
Because it doesn't scare you.
No. I mean, I think it's scary enough. It's the wintry, snowy setting. It's the same reason I don't watch John Carpenter's The Thing during Scare-a-thon. I love John Carpenter's The Thing. And it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But I don't watch it during Scare-a-thon because it doesn't give me autumn horror vibes. It's so wintry, I'd rather watch it in like January. And same thing for The Shining. So I don't actually watch during Scare-a-thon because it doesn't give me the vibes I'm looking for Halloween. But I think it's a great movie and I love it.
Fair enough.
All right. Next message is from Gabe Nakamura. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast crew. Hope you're doing well. Do any of you feel like Walter Hamada is taking more shit for the current state of DC than he deserves? I look at the movies that came out under his tenure, and there are a few that I love, like Birds of Prey, Shazam, The Suicide Squad, The Batman, and there are others that don't necessarily work for me, but I'm glad that other people liked. I even like that Aquaman, which happens to I even enjoy Aquaman, which happens to be the highest grossing DC film ever. It's just weird that he oversaw such a strong slate with a few non-Batman characters, something that people love complaining about with DC, and stabilized the franchise after Justice League, and he's talked about like he's another hack from the WBDC films. What are your thoughts? Thanks, Gabe." Thanks, Gabe. Great question. Jamie, what are your thoughts?
I think you're going to give a far more intelligent and qualified answer than I am because you have more of an understanding of the behind the curtain stuff that goes on here. But I never had a real issue with Hamada. I don't know specifically what we can blame him for or credit him for because, he's in the position that he's in versus a director or something along those lines. But I never was one of those people that thought, crucify Hamada for the state of things as they are. I never felt that way, and maybe I'm wrong in that thinking. Maybe I'm not. I don't know. Like I said, your answer is going to be far more in depth and educated on this matter than mine is. But I don't have a personal problem with Walter Hamada and what he's done in the world of DC films.
Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think he's done a really good job, all things considered. You have to keep in mind like we talked about earlier, whoever's going to come in and take this job now is inheriting a shit show. Walter Hamada also inherited a bit of a shit show, right? Like post Justice League, the theatrical version, and just everything in disarray. And I think what he did was he got a lot of things made. And like you mentioned, a lot of things that connected as well as they could to what came before, but also were able to stand on their own, like Birds of Prey, like Shazam, like The Suicide Squad. Those are all movies that take place in the DCEU. They're in continuity, but they're kind of, a sequel that's also a soft reboot, and they all sort of can work on their own at the same time. And that's a tricky thing to do, but that's what he kind of had to do to try and please both groups of people. And I think he did a really good job because I really liked all these movies. So yeah, do I think he takes more shit than he deserves? Yes, I do think that. And do you know why I think that is? I don't think it has anything to do with the work he did or trying to get things set up. I think it has everything to do with the Ray Fisher stuff, because Ray Fisher has publicly called out Hamada. And because of that, everybody who takes Ray Fisher's word as gospel also don't want to give Walter Hamada any credit. I don't think it's that black and white. I think there's a lot of gray in there. I don't think that Hamada is the villain that Ray Fisher has painted him to be, because literally everyone else in the industry has nothing but great things to say about Walter Hamada. So I'm probably getting myself into trouble for saying that, but I'm just saying there are two sides to every story. We've only ever heard Ray Fisher's side. I think there's another side to that story. And I think that the work that Hamada did was as good as almost anyone could do. And so, yeah, I think he deserves more credit than he's getting. Probably an unpopular answer, but that's how I feel.
Yeah, I don't even want to get into the Ray Fisher thing.
All right, one last question here from Keith. It says, Keith Childers, it says, the Batman was my son's first introduction to the character. Oh, and I think he's talking about the animated series. God, this makes it so tricky. The Batman, the animated series versus the Batman, the movie. Okay, I think he's talking about the animated series. He was about 2 when it started airing, and he was obsessed. The series will always have a special place in my heart because it was something that we shared. In fact, the Edge theme song is still my ringtone. I don't want to bring the show down, but I want to thank you for the recent episode. We recently had an unexpected family tragedy, and I put the podcast on while I was out getting things taken care of. Listening to two people I respect discussing something that brings good memories really helped me stay in a positive headspace. If only for an hour, it was a welcome distraction. Sorry for the long email. I just wanted to take a second to thank you for being part of my healing process and for everything that you do. Keith, thank you for the message. I don't know what happened with your family, but I'm so sorry to hear it. Sounds like it's been very tough. It's been very taxing, and just know that I'm sending you support, sending you love. Hope things are getting better. But I'm sure that whatever it is, it couldn't be easy. And I'm glad that, me and Brendan talking about the Batman helped distract you and bring you a little bit of comfort during this time. So happy that we were able to do that for you. So yeah, hope you're doing well. Hope you and your family are rebounding and everything's going okay. But yeah, I'm glad that you have happy memories of the Batman show, and I'm glad you enjoyed the last little episode that I dropped right before I got on the ship. Jamie?
Yeah, I mean, I echo everything that he just said. I can't really add much more than what he did. Just to throw out my 2 cents on the Batman so far, because in listening to that episode, I did watch it before I listened to the guys review it. It's not a bad show. I like so far. I mean, I'm one episode deep, minus the one episode we watched for a Halloween theme thing and the Batman versus Dracula. I've seen those before, but as far as like watching this series, I don't have a lot of in-depth involvement with it. So I'll tell you right now, I'm going to get the negative out of the way, and you're going to hear me say this repeatedly as we review this show. The sound effects on the transitions from scene to scene.
Oh,
I'm going to choke somebody over this. Oh God, I can't stand it.
I didn't even think about it, but yeah.
The style is what it is. The Joker appearance, you guys touched on that. And I pretty much agree with what you guys said. Joker's look is not very appealing to me. It certainly wouldn't be what I asked for or chose, but I do like the threat that he now poses in this particular form. And that is, he's still the Joker. He's still doing Joker-like things, but with this new ape-like behavior, if you will, he now presents a new level of physical threat when dealing with Batman. And I think I'm going to enjoy that. Because there are times when Joker is presented and he's just not very formidable for Batman in the physical confrontation. This version, I think, is going to give Batman fits both mentally and physically, which I'm curious to see how that plays out as the show goes on. There's things I like about the show. There's things I don't like about the show. And there's a lot of things in between so far. 20 minutes into the series, that's kind of where I'm sitting.
All right. Fair enough. Yeah. And that Edge theme is a banger. I love it.
It's pretty good.
I love it. It's really good.
I'm not crazy about the Batman when it gets done. But
the
song itself is
kind of fun.
Pretty good. It's pretty good.
All right. Well, that is it. Keith, I hope you're doing well. Thank you for the message, and thank you to everybody who has written in. Always great to hear from all you folks, and we appreciate you listening. Oh, it is also worth mentioning. It seems like the audio was a little off on the last episode with Brendan. I don't know what that was.
Australian internet.
I think it was my fault, because even Catherine was listening, because God bless her, she listens, and she's like, yeah, your audio sounded worse than usual. And I think what happened is for some reason my computer defaulted to the computer mic and not my nice mic, and I didn't realize it, which happens.
Yeah.
So apologies for that, guys. I hope this one's better. Of course, this one, the audio might be better, but my voice is not as good. So you take the good, you take the bad.
Yeah. Technology is simultaneously wonderful and aggravating.
Yep, that is true. But thank you to everybody who wrote in. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to holybatcast@rf4rm.com. That'll do it on this beautiful Sunday morning. I'm out of coffee. I got to go have some more. Jamie, I'm glad we could make it happen. It's always a pleasure to chat some bat with you.
Yes, sir. Good time. Nice, easy, relatively quiet episode after we got through that mess at the beginning there.
Yeah, for sure. Anyway, tell our friends where they can find you if they want to.
Okay. I'm going to start by saying, since you brought up John Carpenter's The Thing, we had a little bit of a reunion episode over there on Please Rewind. We've kind of been on hiatus lately, and we just happened to cover for its 40th anniversary John Carpenter's The Thing. So I've now done E.T. and The Thing. So what that means, I need to do Blade Runner, Wrath of Khan, and a couple others to get 1982 out of the way, because that's a legendary year for film, guys. That's great. But anyway, Guy Milks, Tim Rooney, and I, Please Rewind. Check your podcast feeds. We covered John Carpenter's The Thing for 40th anniversary, and it was really good episode. I enjoyed the discussion and the theories that were thrown about. It was a good time. So check that out if you're interested. You can find me on Twitter, though I'm not very active at the moment, at BatRaider3960. And also in Real Fans groups on Facebook. I'm not very active in there except for posting my Scarathon watches right now, which I believe I'm on number 50 or 51. And I'm going to start lagging behind because work's getting crazy busy right now. But that's all right. That's why I wanted to get that fast jump on Scarathon. And then you, of course, can find me here half the time anyway. And hopefully we get some Real Fans for Real Movies episodes done here in the course of the next month or so.
I think we will, and I think we should. I did want to mention Real Fans for Real Movies because, yes, there's the E.T. episode that is out there now, and the Halloween commercial episode is ready to go.
Oh.
So it's just a matter of me deciding when I want to publish it. But my hunch is it'll be this week. So keep an eye on the Real Fans feed for the first Halloween episode of the year. It's ready to go. It's just, again, just got to hit that publish button, but I'm excited about that. And to your point, hopefully we'll have some more spooky season episodes of Real Fans. This is when that feed really comes to life, and we really do as much as we can for the holidays. And so it's always fun. It's always a highlight. It's always scheduling, but I'm looking forward to it.
Definitely stay tuned to that feed because, boy, if our plans pan out, that's going to be a lot of fun here real quick.
Yeah. So, guys, keep an eye out on the Real Fans feed. Again, I already told you where to follow me, but check out all the other shows that are part of the network. Real Fans for Real Movies. There's Halloween stuff coming. Please Rewind. Grim Grinning Host. Hunter is also out there putting out spooky themed stuff from Pencils to Pixels. Michael's show. I was on his Halloween show. It's not out yet, but it could come out at any point. My guess is he's going to hold it till October, but yeah, so that'll be an extra little bonus Halloween listening. Fan Fatales, they're out there doing fun stuff too. So yeah, check out all those shows. We would appreciate it. Again, they're all at rf4rm.com or just search for them by name. But thank you for joining us on this show. Thanks for joining Holy BatCast. We appreciate it and we love it. Please do subscribe or follow the show wherever you get your podcasts. If you love the show, another thing that you can do to support us that doesn't cost a penny is just leave us a nice review on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Those nice reviews are great because they get the word out about the show and it makes us feel happy. So we would appreciate that. Visit holybatcast.com or find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. Again, if you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our theme music was created by Gaurav Venkateswar. His work can be found at gvtunes.com. And don't forget to do a little shopping this week at manscaped.com. And if you're going to make a purchase, please use that promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off and free shipping. That'll do it. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. And I really thought my voice would get better, but it's still pretty weak, so I apologize for that.
Well, if you weren't out partying on a boat and screaming woohoo for a week straight, you would be fine.
I know. I thought I would wake up, I'd have my coffee, my voice would rebound, but no, I'm a mess.
Andy's standing up on the top deck going, somebody hold this baby. I got some partying to do, y'all.
Pretty much. Oh, there was a nursery. They got well acquainted with my daughter.
Adulting.
Yep.